Hello, welcome to Take 10 on Tuesdays with the Tennessee Tribune. I'm Sandra Long-Weaver. I'm the editorial director for the Tennessee Tribune, and our guest today is Councilwoman Erica Gilmore. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me this morning. It's a true pleasure.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you asking me to sit in this morning.
Yeah, we wanted to talk with you a little bit about your experiences on the council and moving from representing District 19, which I think encompassed more of a downtown area, like around 3rd Street, going to, I'm not sure of the exact boundaries, but...
And it encompassed Jefferson Street, too.
And Jefferson Street as well.
And Germantown. It was actually a very diverse district. I loved serving it. Over the last 8 years, it was more diverse probably than any other district. Most of them tend to be homogenous because it's like maybe just one group, but because it was business.
Okay.
It was business, and then it was neighborhoods, and then you had some of the more affluent areas, some of the less, some that needed development, some that had a lot of development. So you learned a lot of different skills in dealing with that district. So Jefferson Street was a part of it, and then also had a lot of universities. Most districts do not have that. You know, they may be all residential or all commercial. So the diversity that I had in the district, I think, really prepared me for some of the issues that I would encounter or take on as an at-large member.
And let's go right to that. That's why I wanted to find out just a little bit about those 8 years. And now, starting in January, I think the session gets started for Metro Council.
Yeah, we've already begun. We actually go year-round.
Oh, so you don't stop.
So after the election, which was in September, because we had a runoff, we started. And so maybe this is like a 6th or 7th council meeting now, because we meet twice a month, the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of each month. And so, yeah, we're rocking and rolling.
Okay, and what are you rocking and rolling on?
So some of the things that we're looking at as a city are the issues of affordability as it relates to housing, which is very complex. I grew up in Nashville. When I grew up, there wasn't much going on in Nashville. We have a good, bad problem. So there's so many people coming to Nashville now. That the influx of people wanting to be here, which is a good thing, has kind of pushed up the housing prices too, because they're buying more housing, they're buying it in the city. And before, Nashville just was a quaint town. It was a good quality of life. Wasn't much going on.
Still a good quality of life.
It's still a good quality of life, but the pressure for the housing and for young people, and with just the new regulations at the federal level, I often share with people, when I purchased my house many years ago, all I needed was a pen. I just signed. It wasn't a certain percentage down. But if you take federal laws and things that happen at the state and then things that happen locally, it's really made it difficult because you have to have a certain percentage. If you're interested in buying a house, like things like 20-30%. Most students are, debt is a little bit higher as it relates to just with student loan. So you combine all those different things, and even if they are professionals, and then you combine the prices, rising of housing, all those different things add pressures, and they create barriers for young professionals to find affordable.
So what are the solutions?
We've been studying that. So we had a consultant to come in from Colorado. We actually also had NOAA, which is a big community organization here.
That works a lot with nonprofits.
Yeah, they're composed of a lot of different religious denominations. And so they worked a lot with us as well. And so some of the things that have come up, we're going to continue to explore them. We've had several different meetings. We had stakeholder meetings. We also had developers to participate because we felt that all parties had to play a part. So to speak to your point, I just kind of want to give the background there. Some of the things that have come up are looking at incentives. And incentives, that means if you build a certain amount of housing, the city may forego some of your taxes, may give you like a tax rebate, maybe waive those taxes, or allow you to build more height or density than you normally would have been able to do in the past. And so we'll have to really continue to explore that. And then the other one is to do inclusionary housing, which is a little bit more controversial because it's if you were to own
what that means.
Sure. It's okay. So we have a developer that owns private property. They're developing it for themselves. It's not a city-owned project.
Right.
So you come in and you say, I want to do the Weaver condos, and I want to do 1,000 of them. We say, okay, we want you to do 10% of that 1,000 to be affordable. And you may say, well, I want to do that, but if you didn't notice, the prices of the cost of land has gone up in Nashville, and if I do that, I'm going to have to pass those costs on to someone else.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're looking at. We think it's a good thing to do. It's a part of the recommendation that will be adopted Thursday. It goes to planning, then it comes to council. So we're going to have to continue to explore those. Those were one of the recommendations. Like I said, the incentives were the other ones. And so we'll continue to kind of hash it out. I think at this point it's just seeing what parties can agree to. Like I said, NOAA played a really big role. They're saying we definitely want it. We want it across the board. But developers saying, okay, if we do this, you have to know that there's a consequence,
right.
Whether good or bad, and that we're either going to have to pass those costs on to somebody. Somebody's got to take those costs on.
Right.
So that's kind of where we are with that. But that's a really big issue in the city, and we are trying our best to deal with it. And there's some things we have in the past that we've done, like if you're a certain age, your taxes are frozen. Mm-hmm. If you make a certain amount of income, but that income is really kind of low.
Right.
So a lot of people don't get to benefit from that. That maybe can't afford the taxes like they could at one time.
Right, when they were really working.
Yeah, when they were really working, and then they make a little money, but it's not enough to qualify for the freeze.
The other topic that I think has generated a lot of conversation is transportation in this area. So, and I know that has to be on the table.
It definitely is. So, yeah, transportation is the issue that we're also looking at. The mayor says that she has adopted a transportation czar, which is a little bit different than something we've had in the past. There have been some ideas put forth. We really need regional, which really goes beyond the city. I did hear this morning, actually, on NPR when I was driving in, that there's going to be a bill sponsored at the state level between the Republican and I think it's Bill Kittredge, who's the Republican, and Senator Jeff Yarborough, who's like a freshman senator, but he's doing a really good job, where we can create a mechanism, because that's what we need first, a mechanism for regional, so that we can do it. So it would have to be some kind of agreement, because if we wanted to do it as a city, but still the outer parts, because transportation is such, at the level that we would need to do it to move people around, like buses, we can do that.
Is light rail part of the discussion?
It wouldn't be light rail, but it'd be something to that. It's my understanding, the way that Nashville is in Tennessee, that we wouldn't be able to have that because it's too much limestone underneath.
Oh, okay.
But it would be some type of transportation that would be regional. We had, as a city, maybe 2 years ago, looked at bus rapid transit, which was called the AMP, which is very controversial.
Right.
It was going to go from West End to East Nashville. The city had moved forth on that, but it was a lot of different conversations about it, whether, should start with one of the wealthiest areas versus areas that really need it. That was one of the conversations. Some feel like, not in my backyard, I don't want it, you're going to bring these type of people. That was it was the kind of conversations we had. But nevertheless, at the state, they passed the bill, and the bill prohibited us from moving forward on that. So a lot of things we do at the city, we can move forward on, but if the state doesn't want us to do it, they override what we've done. Like, we actually have the affordable housing that we're talking about, the inclusionary housing. It's my understanding that a state legislator is going to sponsor a bill to say that we cannot do inclusionary housing. We can only do things that are incentive based. So I think it's important for people to understand that as well, that we can do things that legislators, but city, and then the state trumps the city, and then of course the federal government trumps the state. So people really need to be active on the city level and the state level and be aware of what's going on. I think it's really important, because a lot of us, the state legislators, are actually people that don't live in Nashville. They don't represent Davidson County, but a lot of times they pass bills that are punitive towards Nashville and Davidson County. So I think it's really important to organize and go up to the state and say, hey, you really need to kind of mind your own business. But mind your own, and so people in the community should get together and do this. Definitely, not just the city council. Not just Metro Council. Yeah, it's really beyond us, actually, because if we pass a law and then it's overturned, then at that point we need the citizens to gather and hold the legislators more accountable. Because that's what I'm sharing with you. We've passed laws and they've been overturned at the state. Right. Are there any citizen groups that have stepped forward or taking on any of these issues? Not that I know of right now. Like, I know NOAA's very active. They're very engaged, very organized, but it's usually just at a city level. I see. Okay. And what about education? I know that's also been one of the topics. Education is definitely important. I think as it relates to the city, just mobilizing, when I mean the city council, mobilizing, informing the citizens once again how they can play a role. Because the city council, we approve the budget. Right. And so We have to approve the budget at the same level. If we approve it for higher, we have to do it higher, but we can't ever reduce it. And that's a state law. That's a state law. So basically, we just have the control for the budget.
Right.
But we are looking at a new school superintendent, which is very important. Right. And so in that way, we can be helpful in saying, hey, if you need to get out, you need to participate. They have surveys going out right now. The school board and the board of education, they actually have surveys at this point saying, how should the superintendent look? What do you think about it? How should we go about the process? Because the process was kind of muddied the first time. So those are things that we can do as a city council, just making everyone aware, like it's out there, participate, hold group meetings, ask your school board representatives to come into the area.
Right.
Because it's very important. And the school budget is the largest portion of the city council budget. So even though we cannot make policy decisions, that's what the school board is for.
Right.
So our budget is like $1.2 billion, and of that, $773 million of it
goes toward the school.
Towards the school, yeah. So it's like Pac-Man.
Children.
So it's like this much of it goes towards education,
right.
And we can't all kind of get on the same board about that. So I really would encourage the people in the neighborhoods and the citizens to get engaged, and especially because African Americans are the biggest, which is nothing wrong with that, but we are the biggest recipients as it relates to public education, and you really want to make sure that your child is getting a good education and be involved in that process and make sure that it's fair and equitable and just all those things. And it's a big issue with charter schools. Once again, we've not approved some charter schools, and the state once again overturned that. So the state plays a really big role here in the South. It's a little bit more conservative.
Right.
Nashville's a little bit more liberal. So they tend to overturn some of the things we do a lot instead of a little. We probably just need to go home and just let them just do our job and their job too.
Oh, I don't think that'll work.
Yeah.
That's the part of democracy.
That's right.
So
That's right. It's democracy. Yes.
Yeah. So now, what other issues? We've talked about transportation, education.
Youth is one of my thrusts. Youth.
In what way? Beyond
youth
education?
And opportunities. Opportunities, jobs. When I grew up in Nashville, there were a lot of jobs available, and they came through the Parks and Recreation. So when I was 12, I remember I started working, and then every year I had a summer job at Parks and Recreation.
Great.
It was. I started off as a bag girl, which was literally somebody at the pool. They handed you a bag, and you put your clothes in the bag. I gave them a number. They gave me the bag back, and I made sure that all their clothes were in there. And then so I moved up from there each year to a lifeguard.
Okay.
So which was important because you want to be in a safe space. I think sometimes when young people work, if it's not in a safe, in a nurturing environment,
right,
they can take on too many responsibilities or get harmed. You hear a lot of times people getting harmed at fast food restaurants or getting overexposed, working too many hours that they're not supposed to by law.
Yeah.
So
and people don't understand what the law is.
So it's really good to have you have enough where you can get responsibility, make you some money, and be in a nurturing environment. That's really important when you're young.
And there's also been a town meeting on youth and violence.
There has been, and we're going to continue to work with the mayor on that. She's leading the initiative, which I think is really great because violence is a big issue. There's so many factors that impact violence. So it could go really wrong if it doesn't improve, or it could go really right.
Well, jobs seem to be a part of that.
Jobs are, and so the fact that she's taking this on and she's holding those different summits or town halls across the city, I think is very good. I attended the first one, but as you shared, there's so many things that affect violence in youth. So the fact that she's taking this on, I think, is a really big deal, and it's admirable.
Right.
There's so many issues to it, like poverty, jobs,
right.
Education.
Education is a big part of it. Scholarships, going to college. Well,
definitely.
the Tennessee Promise. Does council get involved?
We don't. That's a state issue, but most students have 2 free years that they can go to any community college, and so I think that's wonderful. That's something that the governor has done, but we don't. What we do need to work on, but once again, we don't have control over that, is making sure that the students are prepared and that their ACT scores go up. Okay. They're a little low in terms of receiving those scholarships. Right. The average student, I think, scores an 18, and this came out from the report card from the chamber. They do an annual report card on the schools, and so we need to really get up to around 22, 23 which is where you can qualify for scholarships.
Okay. Any other areas that you see, council or yourself? Where are you leading the charge?
I want citizens to be engaged. I guess that's the biggest piece, and just really understand how government works. Like you said, it's democracy. It's a little bit messy, but understanding that public hearings are a good time, and that's when we usually have zoning, and that's the opportunity for citizens to come and speak. About whether it's a particular type of development in your neighborhood, whether you want it or you don't want it.
Right.
That's a really good opportunity. Emails, all those things, they make a difference. They make a difference, and sometimes citizens feel like they're not listened to, but I think it's because they need to learn more how to engage with government, and that we have tools accessible. So just making those accessible. Provide mentorship to those colleagues that want it.
Right.
Which is good. We have 40 council members. About 25 to 27 of them are new.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got a big learning curve that's going on.
Yeah. Now, so if citizens want to get in touch with you, what is the best way to do that?
Sure, they can email me at erica.gilmore@nashville.gov or erica.gilmore@gmail.com. Either one of those come to me. They can also call the council office at 615-862-6780. The at-large person tends to deal with, and once again, I just said understanding government, and we going out and doing more workshops. At-large tends to deal with more global ideas. So sometimes people may call me about a street or a sign, and I say,
you need to call your local
right, because I can do it, but what happens is they don't understand that really has to be initiated by their district council person that's for that area, because they sign bills that represent that area, so I can't really sign a bill for them. So that's really kind of where it starts. And once again, like I said, that's just really kind of understanding government. It's not like I'm pushing anybody off. It's like, it gets kind of dicey. Right. And then people are like, why are you trying to do something in my district? Like, I'm really not. They just called me, so.
Let's work together on it.
Yeah, let's work together on it. That's right.
All right.
So,
all right. Well, thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you for your time.
For joining us today, and thank you for joining us on Take 10. And we'll see you the next time.